Hi, I'm Michael, regenerative architect, and I am human. Like most people, I started this video and then I forgot what I was going to talk about. But I am present, and what I was going to talk about is what is enlightenment? What is a journey? And what is it when people say they found new understanding or new meaning in life? And how can I share specifically my experience through those lenses, those meanings, but I don't know what they mean to you. I know what they mean to me when I say them. I know when I say journey, I know what that means to me. When I say enlightenment, I know what that means to me. And when finding higher understanding and higher purpose, when I say that out loud, I have a lot of meaning behind that in my mind based on my life's experience. And so I wonder if I just keep talking with the too long don't read version and just stop at the words I said and don't offer not my definition to change yours, but my definition of the meaning when I say journey, higher understanding, sons of God, S-U-N, capital, lowercase s for plural. When I say these things, what is the meaning that it means to you? Well, my face moves certain ways. Sometimes I have facial tics. Sometimes my signals, I believe, transmit emotion that people have seen that same face on someone else, and what happened next mattered. The other person looked like this, and if I look like this and tell you I'm peaceful, does the meaning change? Does the context change? Movies, fiction, reality, written literature. What's a fiction versus a nonfiction book? I'm still talking just about these three to four words, right? What is it to have a journey? What is it to come to a higher understanding? What is it to see and understand a higher purpose? And if somebody shares that specific journey with you, what is the meaning of those words through which you will filter everything they say next? And how would you understand one person's journey for another's? But when we do share our understanding and context, do we get better results? I think we see that a little bit with what I will call the broken and dangerous AILLMs. They need the appropriate context, or they're guessing all over the place, sometimes giving terrible advice. I wonder if the core purpose right now that we can extract value back out of AI is a meaning. Could we get value out of understanding that just like the current broken, dangerous, open models, AI, LLM, frontier models, without the right context, we also don't understand each other. And the meaning is in the understanding. And what a person means and what they do need to match. If they don't, we might look on that person and say, you're not honest, or you're not well. You seem to be doing this thing and getting that result. And then we might need to understand, what is this thing and what is that result? And are we fully present with that person and their explanation? And are we fully observant of what happens and what does not happen? So with that, I will share this as quickly as I can. I see my life having progressed through changes in state. One of the most significant was understanding that the mind and the body are deeply connected. That when I don't think well, when I don't have the energy to do positively out in the world, that my body can come to break down. I had high cholesterol for a very significant portion of my life until I had a new experience and moved to a state where I saw it was true. I loved who I am, and other people could too. A year of living like that, and they would no longer prescribe me statins. They said, Michael, you no longer have an issue with your high cholesterol. Later on, I went through another state change where I realized at COVID that things were going to keep getting worse like they have. That COVID was emergent, most likely. At that time, that was my thought and prediction. And I shared this with others. I believe this sprung up naturally and is not a war of states. And I believe because of that, it's going to keep getting worse because nobody understands. They won't find anybody to hold accountable. And so they will go to war with their own countries. And they will make it hard to understand what it means to survive, to feed yourself. And when you cut and bleed, how to suture yourself. When you have a heart attack, how do you bring yourself back? If the information gets harder and harder to find because, as they have, the AI LLMs have overwhelmed people, so has the feed and the algorithm and scrolling. So conversations like this that go longer than a few minutes, even though there's a lot of meaning, and I'm saying a lot of depth, some people just tune out and just watch my head nods. Unless the screen changes enough, there's not enough novelty in the environment because they're used to just scrolling next. But I'm not a scroll next modality. Modality is a way to deliver information. I'm more like taking a college course. It's a lot to listen to. And a lot of what I say has to be broken down and understood in labs and over experiences, vectors. I then came to have a high blood pressure problem because I told people I thought it was going to get way worse, but I thought it was all happening very fast and soon. I thought the predictions I saw of the world getting turned in on itself against itself and food being difficult to find and people having a hard time understanding how to grow it, I thought that would happen in months. Now I understand that the way I've been taught time and how the world changes and how I change and how everybody in the world changes with the world happens through big shifts in energy. Energy can create mass. We see this in the streets when people take to riot. Don't riot, be peaceful. When you have your inner peace, you stay calm through everything. Literally, Buddhist monks have sat in peaceful protest and burned their body to ashes to demonstrate to the world that when somebody says mind over matter, and that we say if our mind is healthy and clean, our body can be so strong that we do not feel pain when we are doing what in our hearts is right. Do not end your life. We need you. We need you alive as much as we need the sun to come up tomorrow. We need you to come up tomorrow. Our Buddhist brothers and brothers that have protested in ways that have been peaceful and brought about the end of their own life so they could demonstrate that they would not be part of taking the life of another, I get a meaning from that. I don't come to question why they would burn themselves as the first stop in my thought pattern. I loop, as I say, and I keep asking why 5 times at least. And if I cannot get a measurable answer that answers all 5 of those whys in a chainable, audible, provenanced way that I can link together, then I still question more whys. This is what engineers do. This is how bridges come to stand and how roads come to crumble. When contractors get involved and make a road to just save $1 and make an extra $10, they fall apart. When bridges are built by engineers that observe nature and flow the design of the bridge with the frequencies, the vibrations, the tides, the shifts of the moon, the level of the water like Australia does, their infrastructure comes to last and stand the test of God. The solar cycles, the aurora borealis when the tides are higher and higher and they're highest and then they come back down quickly. We predict those because we follow the patterns of the moon, and the moon always does the moon patterns. And it's predictable. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat. I don't mean anything by that, clearing my throat while I'm speaking live. I just have a little bit of buildup in the back of my throat and it was uncomfortable. So I've cleared it. I mean nothing by the audio sound that it made. It's just a effect of the cause of having a buildup in the back of my throat. Sometimes people will make those audible sounds and people will take them as interruptions or breaks in their thought process, and they'll hang on that sound because it changes their attention, and then they don't hear what the person says after that. They stop at the and they just keep hearing the because maybe their parent went and then didn't speak and just looked at them. But Michael's not doing that when he clears his throat. I'm talking about my life moving through vectors and states. It's a continuous thought. It's deep and wide, like taking you through a college course, and I've not organized the pedagogy of it to start with. I'm explaining the experience back out the way I came to experience it. when I moved through these states and what insights and knowledge I was measuring, what evidence I had at the time, I came to see those things differently. That's way different than mansplaining or over-explaining, because I'm articulating a part of my experience that only I've had, and I've come to see it this way, like you see the color blue. So if I could share my translation between green and blue and map it back to my experience, I predict you could too. And you might see at times in our life when we could not love ourselves, our body broke down. And you might see at times that our blood pressure went up. You were trying to tell others something's not right here. And I think if we work together, we could understand better. And they just shut you down. And so your body starts to shut down. Exactly as we see in our biology for plants and trees. If you leave a fruit on the vine and let it ripen to the point of going to seed, the body of the plant will sacrifice itself and stop taking nutrients from the soil. It will plan for the future. The plant roots die. They return to the soil, dense in nutrients, high in potassium. A decaying plant returns more potassium to the soil in many cases. Not all plants do. A lot of decayed plants replenish potassium. Potassium tells a seed it's a good soil for rooting. It's a hormone, like our bodies get as we mature, that tells us now's the time to grow taller, wider, stay shorter. If you leave a mind confused and tell it it's done, but it's not clear on how it feeds itself, you tell it it doesn't have enough, but all the seeds are ready to plant, and you force that body of that plant to keep staying alive, the mind of the plant predicts it doesn't need to. Family, anybody that has told you that you shouldn't or you couldn't or that you wouldn't or that you won't, didn't see your perspective on something. Maybe you were trying to express it creatively and artistically, and they took it literally. Maybe you were trying to say it phonetically and literally, and they took it metaphorically and built a creative image out of it. Stop attacking people until you understand fully. Stop telling people to change their mind to your mind, something I'm very guilty of, and return to asking the questions and be willing to answer honestly. My neighbors talk to me about being tied up in basements and being punched in the face and having to retaliate at one point by punching a male in their genitalia, and she says it graphically. I could recoil and come to judge the words she uses and reflect that back on her as a type of person that uses those words. I've not. I've heard that she was physically put in horrible situations and she didn't know who she could call or how she could get out because so many people were involved that kept putting her there. And so many people told her that she deserved to be there. After a life of in and out, mostly on the streets, cleaning up and coming through addiction of many kinds, she still smokes a lot of nicotine, and she showed me how to navigate food shelters and feed myself when I otherwise didn't have the attention to keep my garden going so I could feed myself like I always have. With my own observations and my own two hands, I feed myself knowledge and information. I feed myself from the soil, and if it tastes bitter, I spit it out. If it looks wrong, I evaluate it longer, and I don't come to believe something just because one told it to me. Even if many tell it to me, it may be because one told it so loudly that many came to say it again the same way. Advertising and marketing are mimicking machines, and they do it at high speed, and they reach far and wide. Just because they print it these days does not make it true. It never did. Freedom of the press was so that you could see the information freely, where it came from, who said it, and when, with what context. That's returning people to the light, not to death. We don't need to go to the light and end souls ever. We need to come back to the light of understanding that at least in this vector, it's clear that we run on solar. Our plants grow on solar. Our animals follow the solar cycle. Our migration animals follow the grander solar cycles. The ocean and the moon follow even clearer, grander solar cycles that we've come to see so simple we could predict the tide. We could predict the tide out to many futures. We can predict it so reliably, it doesn't matter how many boats come or go. The tide will still tide. Do you hear me and understand me? Doesn't matter how many boats will come and go. All souls can stay. And all tides can rise those ships. Always have. Even if souls go, souls return. Lived experience, reincarnation, deja vu. We've come to call it many different things. I don't see it as cleanly as one soul goes out and right back into another body. I also see that when we talk about having spirit animals, there's plausibility to our shared consciousness sharing prior experiences that get etched in our DNA. How would that be possible? There's sounds etched in wood, vibrations in growing trees can come to be held like the pressing of a vinyl record. I predict it's true that our DNA holds hyper prior experiences of what we've come from and shows us the calculations, predictions of what we can support going to from this vector. We can get there from here if we understand where here is, and then where there is becomes something we always keep asking why, and never just set as a goal and then pursue forward blindly. Because as soon as we put on blinders, we don't know whether or not what we're seeing is the reality that we're navigating together, or only the way we're seeing our understanding of the world in our mind. And when people are so far apart on understanding, one might come to call the other crazy or insane. And when one sits with another and hears their meaning and still sees that they could be stressed or anxious at times, and still see that they get up every day, they make their bed, talking of others, I'm not a bed maker, some are. They get their breakfast, they walk their dog, they have their routine, they do it well, they're functional. They're still very stressed and traumatized. Keep breaking them, keep telling them that what they're doing is terrible, and that they have to do more, get out and make more money, earn more. DoorDash more, Target more, participate in social media more. You break their minds further. And then they can come to be so detached of their mind, body, and world that it turns into cancer, heart attacks, brain tumors, blood clots, and any number of nearly indescribable, what I will call the anti-miracle, entropy. Ailments in bodies so complex that doctors chase them for a lifetime, and generations later, doctors still do not have a pill for weight loss or trauma because there isn't one. There isn't one. You are the one. Universally, naturally intelligent. We're coming up on 19 minutes, coming up on 19 minutes. I hope you're still hanging in there with me. I hope as I do these in short bursts and long bursts and short, you'll see this is coherent. Even though I do trail off sometimes because I am human and I do get distracted sometimes by new thoughts while I'm having a thought, I can manage that and still come to build for my chickens, get to a food pantry, meet folks running recovery programs in jails, and talk to folks about the union and the opportunity to maybe train folks that have records and do it in a halfway house setting where they've got the environment that I can show them that they too can move through those vectors. They, the one in themselves, has the power to get their inner peace balanced. They have the ability to adjust the blinders differently to take away confusion and noise, dial down concerns of paranoia, being watched, overlooked, dial up the understanding that, yeah, a lot is tracked, no question about it. Cameras everywhere, that's real. People are cutting them down, it's real. Our worry about it can shift if instead of cutting the cameras down, we make it so that they don't want to put cameras up. They make it so when the cameras are up, what they see causes them to rethink why they put them up in the first place. That's the kind of change that holds. It's the kind of change that's made to stick, Dan and Chip Heath. It's the kind of lessons Freakonomics has shown us through thin slicing. It's lessons that Maslow's theory of hierarchy has told us again and again. It's understanding the bell and Pavlov's theory a little bit differently. It's understanding the Pygmalion effect, and it's understanding that Pythagorean's theorem is one of the few that's held so strongly, while other mathematics and geometries have still wavered in and out of being durably reliable to explain what they measure. I'm Michael Polzin, a regenerative architect. I've lived a life of significant trauma and several reorganizing events where I've come to be peaceful and have better understanding of myself afterward. I've consistently led a life where I've increasingly taken on accountability for my actions with better understanding. And when others have given me the opportunity to sit with my experience and I'm able to share it back, not to change their mind, for them to understand what I experienced when they weren't present, I often find that wounds close, loops close, and others heal. Others have told me I've helped them move through depressive states to higher states. I've helped them move out of stuck environments physically and mentally. And I came to absorb a lot of that at a time when my world broke apart on me, and I was not in the best place to act as kindly back on it as I needed to. That lack of alignment cost me a lot. It cost a lot of people a lot. But the sun comes up every day, and so do I. And I've never stopped producing something, whether it's a garden, learning hydroponics, showing my grandson how to eat, my daughter showing my grandson, I don't want to take credit where it's not due. My daughter showed my grandson how to eat. I made available one more plant that looked like what she already shown him. He got curious and went over there and ate those cherry tomatoes with just a little bit of direction. He gave some of that seed back to the ground. As children, sometimes we will call them messy. Maybe they're just giving a little bit back to God and being more respectful than what we are when we call them those words. Because of that, a cherry tomato plant now twice has rooted life on top of concrete. And I now, in the middle of summer, have about a 6-inch cherry tomato plant with fruit on it already that I'm going to be able to rinse out and transplant, and I think grow into a very large cherry tomato bush that's going to give me cherry tomatoes all winter long that I can share with my neighbors. And I started this because I wanted to tell you that I have moved through my life, and I have meaning when I say things like higher understanding. I've been on a journey. I feel I am enlightened. I feel I'm at deeper peace than I ever have been. And I also feel like I will continue to make mistakes. I predict I will never be perfect, and that is exactly God's plan. There's enough up there, enough down here. And if we operate within the bounds and we don't overconsume, if we operate within the bounds and we don't get too stagnant, it's abundant. It always has been. The cornucopia is full. It's full of hope, it's full of understanding, and it's full of the ability to grow your own food and provide for yourself unlimited power. Through the sons, S-U-N, lowercase s for plural, sons of God that understand solar energy and solar power and how it's directly induced into our universe and gives rise to the matter we stand on, gives rise to the life we call plants, makes way for the life we call animals, and I predict we will soon find that God's energy, the induction of the sun, the protons wiggling, are the way we get our souls and come to have an intertwined, interconnected consciousness. And when the signals are right and the noise is down, our energy spirals up like the Fibonacci sequence, not like a tornado like the Tasmanian devil, instead like a nebula, flowing free ideas, new understanding of creativity untethered to past understandings, unlimited in domains. What are domains? Can you think about something in one area, colors and numbers, and then also think about it in another, like finance, and then find an idea in the middle that explains both durably? That is what I do. I believe that is what many autistic and Asperger people do. And I believe the way we treat them, the way we talk to them, the way we lose our patience with them, and the way we drug them. ADHD is bandwidth, and I believe being on the spectrum is higher order reasoning, processing speed, processing power. You are universally, naturally intelligent. You're beautiful from the 2 little cells in the tip of your toe all the way up to the ever-growing cells in the tip of your nose. You don't need to lie to make it grow. It's just going to keep growing. If anybody tells you you're anything less than beautiful, anything less than wonderful, if anybody for a second tells you you can't do it, you take a deep breath, you find your inner peace, and you stack the bricks higher safely until you show them. You don't need to build a bigger pyramid, but if they need to see it, you sure can. Watch me, fam. Watch you, fam. Go get it. Find your inner peace. Turn up your energy. Be peaceful. Be loud. Act kindly on the world and explain what you're doing while you're doing it. so other people get the message too. I love you all. You're beautiful.